As a businessman, prioritize money first. Prioritize money. Money makes the vision last. Money makes the vision have a bearing. If I say prioritize money, I'm saying, what do I do with this product that makes it optimal enough to give me the remuneration I'm expecting? If I'm a chef and I expect to have clients, I can't put out trash. All right. So I would have to do what I know how to do best, in the way that if I peg my prices at XYZ, they will be able to pay me at that amount. It's a slap to the face of Africans. Are we not tired of being backbenchers? On the global scale, Africa represents a very tangible, we compose a very tangible representation of smart people. Most app inventors, most, back-end developers, I know a lot of Nigerians who work in Australia, who work in Austria, who are major devs there. And these guys are the ones running the algorithms for your big companies to excel on. Imagine these brains brought together. And then there's a structure, and then there are policies that enable them. Example, provide electricity for them. No, give them data access. Pay them. You mentioned something off air. Reduce the cost of learning for these tech skills.
Yeah, because I was really coming down to that.
Yes.
Because Dave, the truth is, if these people really, if the government, because I always say this, if the policy is favorable, the business will bloom. There'll be so many persons who want to invest into tech.
Let me tell you why the government won't favor it. Because tech exposes their loopholes.
Hey guys, how are you all doing? Honestly, I have so missed you people. It's more like I've not seen you guys for a very long time, or you've not heard from us, right? Well, I want to start with wishing you a happy new year. This is me saying happy new year to you. And of course, welcome to one of the most fascinating, most talked about content on YouTube and on every social media platform. This is Let's Talk with Elvis. I want to start with saying I'm so happy to be here. And yes, this year there's certainly going to be a lot of back-to-back programs that will thrill you, right? And I want to raise my collar a bit up because today's conversation is obviously going to be mind-blowing. Because joining me today, I have a brother, a friend, a business colleague, and today I just found out that someone said we look alike. And I think that's like why we resonate a lot. That's like why we think alike. That's why we behave somewhat alike, right? And I've been looking forward to today. Because the last time we shared the same space was far back 2023 or 2022, where we had Rikasani on the Radio 12, right? That was like the last time we shared the same space. And today it's happening. Like, we don't have any celebrity. It's just us doing it together. Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me in the studio, I have a brother, I have a friend who happens to be a broadcast journalist, a techpreneur, a compare, an investor. Yes, I have to add that one because yes, our picture says so. He's an investor. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome as I introduce you, Mr. Dave Robert, the CEO of Dayford Network.
All right, so I was waiting for another guy to come in. This whole
You know me?
Happy New Year,
Bro.
Happy New Year.
We finally crossed
Official.
Is this year?
Definitely yes.
This year we're making the $1,000, $2,000, probably $1 million.
No, I'm thinking maybe 10 million. We'll start with 10
right?
million. Yeah.
Oh my God, you think small. Forgive me. Man, you're looking so good today.
Thank you so much. You also. How was your trip? Did you travel?
Canada was everything. Canada itself was everything. The view, the hotels, everything. I mean, Calabar.
Oh, I heard Cana.
No.
I was thinking Calabar.
Calabar. You want me Calabar now?
I mean, it's great to be here. 2025, an exceptional year. I mean, looking forward. When we were kids, and then you mentioned the year 2025, we would look at it with one kind of impression or expression like, maybe cars will be flying that year.
Bro, it would though.
Houses will be floating on water. Yes, it does in China, but
China, right?
Yeah, but we're here, and we'll make the best of it.
All right, so let's enough with the whole. Let's go into the main cocoa of today's discourse.
Exactly.
So basically today we will be talking about a lot that has to do with tech startups and their innovation. And of course, you will agree with me that 2024 we had a lot of tech companies coming in here and there, floating their companies. A lot of persons going with the name on their bio: tech this, tech that, fintech, health tech, music tech, everything tech. Even persons that don't even have the ideology of it. Well, on the flip side, the tech industry is amazing.
Yeah.
But to one extent, there's been like a whole lot. It's more like we've been seeing a lot of remix of products. You have to see they have the Airbnb. They have something similar to that.
Just recycle.
They're recycling everything.
The e-hailing services.
Yeah,
recycled
it's
again.
just been like a whole lot of recycling here and there. And for what is what, some persons that happens to be who are not really really experienced in the whole field are becoming. I mean, it's more like they're now giving this level of audience rather than training and becoming better. They're kind of giving them this opportunity to, give us a half-baked product, which in the long term is almost changing the narrative and the expectations people have of tech. So today I'd want to really ask, all right, how have you phantomed this industry? Because now your company is a startup, right? And I believe you have like you have your expectations, you have what you're so looking forward to, you have your plans rolled out and all of that. So what are you really, really working on? What are your expectations in this field, and what should we be expecting at the time too?
All right. So I would start with your description of what we see as the general narrative now. Tech this, tech that,
everybody
tech bro, tech sis,
tech mom and tech dad.
Good tech, bad tech, crazy tech. It's the season, it's the time, it's the generation. 20 years ago, like I said, our forefathers, our grandfathers, our grandparents, our aunts, uncles, the old people, in our family, if you ever told them, Elvis, come 20, 25 years from now, you'll be able to put a call through to a friend of yours in London. And that friend of yours in London will be able to see you in real time. And you guys will talk. You guys will interact in real time. Would they have believed?
Nah.
They would have called it sorcery now.
Yeah, exactly. They would think it's juju, black magic, or whatever you call it. Right?
But now here we are.
It's happening.
And they're doing it.
Yeah.
These guys are, you see your uncle call you and say, I want to speak with you. I want to see your face. I want to see you. It's happening. We are here now. Just as in maybe 1000 AD or 2000 AD, the coolest things that were existing were the donkeys and the chariots.
Yeah,
back then, I mean, you had to be a cool guy. I mean, just own one donkey.
Yeah, this is how you level up with your wealth, and everybody be like, he's pulling up with his donkey and camel.
you get me? Like, yo, so I just got me one new donkey, and
you have to chill with pharaohs and co.
You get? I mean, God is good. I can't start so much. My farm is doing so well. That was that age where agriculture was everything. But right now we are moving into that era where you cannot do life without tech. So I think that counters that narrative of everybody wants to get into tech, because everybody, by passive or active means, is now involved in tech. Okay. You wake up in the morning and then you want to make a call. That's tech. Can that be a business? Yes, you can interface on behalf of different people. That's virtual assistance. That's tech. All right. So I'm thinking your approach would rather be, are we doing business? Are we doing tech business as well, as opposed to why is everyone is everyone hopping on this trend right now? Because eventually we will get to that point where we can't do life without tech anymore. It's almost happening. I mean, we have bank systems we don't see. We have health systems we don't see. I was listening to a podcast, and then they were talking about this service somewhere in the United States of America where you would interface with the ambulance for emergencies, and then it will come as an e-hailing platform.
Oh.
Instead of the conventional big,
siren and everything.
So it's almost also there is this emergency, and then the same way your I don't want to name names will pull up if you order a ride.
Yeah.
That's the same way the ambulance will pull up. So tech has now been embedded into every single thread of the system of the world.
Right. So speaking of which, so would you really say that tech itself, the expectations for most persons having for tech, do you think that it's now a scenario where it's now solving real life problems other than the numbers that they're getting? Because whether you like it or not, a lot of persons that are into the whole tech thing are just not really giving a fuck about, sorry about that word, but they don't really give a fuck about what you think about the product, but they're so interested in the numbers they are making in their account, the numbers on social, to what people see them, or what people assume, or what people see them, or what they want people to see. I don't know if you're getting my point. What they want you to see, they want to confirm if that is what you're saying, not really rendering the soul service that they stand for. Now, do you think that is what it is in our today's tech? Because there's like a lot of companies, that are just there, remixing companies.
You keep. I think you have a problem with that. You hate the fact that things are recycled.
Because I feel like there's a lot more to be done.
If you want to do things, you could do a new. You could come
up with a new idea.
But innovation means capitalizing on an existing idea and then making it better.
Making it better.
Yes.
I love what you said, making it better. But right here, we have people capitalizing on already existing ideas, making it worse.
Doing
it's
the
more
same
like
thing.
The original is just there and they're not even doing anything.
All right. So let me answer that question.
Yeah.
I feel personally dealing with different clientele all over the world. I've learned something. As a businessman, prioritize money first.
Okay.
Prioritize money. Money makes the vision last.
Well, okay.
Money makes the vision have a bearing.
All right.
Okay, so if I say prioritize money, I'm saying what do I do with this product that makes it optimal enough to give me the remuneration I'm expecting. Okay, I can't if I'm a chef and I expect to have clients, I can't put out trash. All right, so I would have to do what I know how to do best in the way that if I peg my prices at XYZ, they will be able to pay me at that amount.
Okay.
All right. I've spoken with businessmen. I mean, this is a global audience, but in Nigeria, we have the Igbo tribe, and these guys are exceptional while doing business. I've spoken with a friend of mine who is from the Igbo tribe in Nigeria, and he said, look, if you tell me you don't like money, I don't trust you. All right? And then the tech market is global. So if I had to sell a product and for the subscription, it's $1, and I'm in Nigeria, we have an equivalent of 1,007 plus
700, yeah.
Are you telling me I should not calculate 1 million people who would subscribe to that platform?
Exactly.
Do you understand me? But if my product isn't optimal enough, doesn't serve the purpose, that would be fraud. Regardless, even if it's done with the most legal intentions.
Okay.
I mean, why would you tell me to subscribe to something that I can't use or I can't buy or make transactions or that would perform the expected, need that I registered or I got that product for? So in my mind, or in my context, it is do business, make the money, but serve the purpose. Let that product serve the purpose. If I had to pay $5 million to get an automobile, and it didn't work the way I expected, that means there's a problem somewhere.
Yeah.
But if I paid $5 million and then you gave me that particular brand or car, and it worked fine, sure, I will still pay more.
All right. So you said from the onset that your bios rather stated that you were a startup
Yeah,
company,
a media tech company.
media tech company that is a startup. And last year we had a lot of startup companies in
Yeah,
Nigeria,
yeah.
both legit, not even just in Nigeria, in the world, but the ones that are legit, the ones that are fraudulent, and so on and so forth. So how long should a company be known as startup before they go into the mainstream, before they go into the
Go
main
public.
market, before they go public? All right, that is one. And secondly, for a startup, if they're to calculate their entire net worth for a startup, how much should a startup in let's say in 2-3 years, how much should it worth? How much should they worth for startups? Because it's more like some persons tend to use this as a means for money laundering.
Yes.
Start up some business and then
And
give
then
it a name
hide
and
under
say,
the-
yeah, it's $100 million in just 1 year. What are you guys doing? It's questionable. So
Okay. Thank you very much, Elvis. I mean, you're asking some really critical questions. For every business, there is what they call the gestation period.
okay.
All right. Now, the gestation period is, like the name implies, it's like an incubation period.
All right.
Between 1 year, and above, max 2-3 years.
Okay.
In this period of time, you are throwing in money and you're not getting, most times, you're not getting what you put in. All right. So you're putting in finance, capital, angel investors are coming in, venture capitalists are coming in. A lot of funds are going into branding, marketing, structure, publicity, PR,
all of that.
everything. I was listening to one of my newfound mentors. I've always loved him from afar, but I'm paying closer critical attention to him right now. Elon Musk. Yeah, our African brother. Let's know that he's from Africa.
South
here.
Africa, yeah, to be precise.
So he said something. He said, he was down to his last $40 million as at 2006 or 2008. I'm not really sure about the particular year. And then he had two options: either keep the money to himself, or invest in two businesses, or two of his ideas. And pros and cons. You throw in 20 million here, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. Probability theories. You throw in another 20 here. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, fingers burnt. You keep it to yourself, maybe you are on the safe side. You put in the full 40, maybe it turns out fine. And he said he had to make one of the most daring decisions of his life. Put in the full 40, and I mean, God was on his side. It turned out fine. So in this gestation period of yours, regardless of the business you're doing, tech, since it's now the context of our conversation, any kind of business, and if it's something that you're going to add tech to, give yourself a gestation period. We've done that. We launched the company in 2023. Prior to that time, we had been building structure from 2021.
Okay.
And then in 2024, 2023 gave us some level of credence, where we were able to consult for a couple of companies. And then 2023 we went international. Yeah, we did some international gigs. 2024 it became a household name, where we did stuff for the government in Nigeria here, the River State government. We did some PR consultancy for our clients in India, in Trinidad and Tobago, and in Europe. All right.
Okay.
And then 2024 also, it became the company had a merger with another fintech company. So we moved from just plain media to media tech, which is like the first of its kind in this part of Nigeria. And in Africa, I tend to want to blow my trumpet a little bit.
brag about it.
Yeah,
Very
that
important.
we we're dabbling into that space where a lot of companies, media companies, wouldn't do, get into. So it's a media tech company. Dayford Network Limited is a media tech company. We offer PR services, we offer project management services across different clientele. So, in a nutshell, give yourself time to build.
Okay.
Yeah, throw in those monies that you have kept. Expect it to come back to you. Expect it to fail. Expect projects to crash. Look back and say, look, I launched this product and it was like expected. Oh, first 1, 2, 3 months, people
It should be boom, and
people throwing billions.
It's not popping.
The more you keep doing this, you learn the ropes better. You learn how not to do certain things. I heard about the inventor of Thomas Edison. Tried, a couple of times, and then when he eventually got it, he said, "I learned how not to do it this so number of times." So keep throwing it. That's your gestation period. Is the period where you have to lose and make.
All right.
Yeah.
So I want to ask this very critical question. I know this would probably make you feel some way, but I just have to say, because some persons have, experienced it and decided not to talk about it, but I really want to talk about it. If we look closely to what is going on, as much as it's an innovation, and of course the world is evolving with the trends and the ideas of men.
Yeah.
Which tech is amongst one of those innovations, right? It has opened a door for both the positive and the negative to all pass through, right? And it's more like in this part of the world, those persons that are into tech and those persons that have little or no knowledge, or I wouldn't even say little or no knowledge, because so many of them are even doing it, unconsciously.
Yes.
You understand? Most persons are really utilizing this social media space, utilizing most of these gadgets.
Yeah.
This is tech, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you look at their output, the results they tend to make, you find out that most of these persons that are not tech savvy, that don't have the requisite knowledge of tech, tends to make more money illegally than those persons that are tech savvy, than those persons that have the requisite knowledge. What am I trying to say? Get a young boy in Nigeria currently that is of 16 to 18 years in a room who has no knowledge of tech.
Yes.
Get another boy from Nigeria, right, who is from the same age, who is well grounded in tech. Put the both of them in this room, give them food, clothes, and a device to work with, right? And give them a target, let's say $1,000, $2,000 at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Right? Don't say a thing. Just tell them to either create something and generate that amount of money.
Just tell them, give me $1,000 or give me $2,000 at the end.
To your greater surprise, yeah, that particular boy, who does not have any knowledge about tech, who knows what to do, who has learned from the ropes, from the hard way, we tend to make that money in less than 3 weeks. But this other person who knows this tech is more of trial and error. Because as much as, yes, we agree that there are AIs that can write codes, you have to bug, you have to do this, you have to test that, you have to follow up with a lot of, programming languages here, in and there. You find out that at the end of the day, this particular person, he will just shock you.
All right, let me answer that question. I'm a Christian. So let's go back to the Bible.
Okay.
When Jesus was, this is January. A lot of people are fasting. Are you fasting?
Of course, yeah.
You had cake.
I just broke my fast. No, come on now. Before we started off, I was praying and I slept off.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you had to come back and then. Good, cool. So, when Jesus was led into the wilderness, he was led by the Spirit of God.
Okay.
It wasn't the devil who led him to the wilderness. The Spirit of God led him into the wilderness. Now, the wilderness in this context is a place of seclusion, right? Where there is no connection. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
There is no connection. You don't have access to anybody. That's your place to determine if you would go further or, just break. And then in that place, the devil comes and says, look, you have two options. I could make this quicker for you. Bow before me,
Mm.
and I'll give you the kingdoms of the world. Turn this stone into bread. People don't understand that most young men or most humans, get into that wilderness stage or stages at different points in time in their life where you think you're doing the right thing, but options will come. Okay? So let's use this analogy. Two young men, one room.
Mm.
One decides to build for a generation to come.
Mm.
Another feels, you know what? Give me the money for the now.
Mm.
Jesus, turn this stone into bread for the now. Or remain resolute on your character and principles and earn the crown as the king of all these things that you're seeing temporarily. Okay? So we are all posed with just different challenges. Yet again, what is your hunger? Are you hungry to just get something to satisfy your need at the time? Or are you building? When I started my company, I told myself, look, I don't know how it's going to be like. I don't know how long it's going to take me. But this vision will take me to the continents of the world. I don't know how it's going to play. As at that point in time, I had maybe just 1-2 clients, because I was already doing media. So it was easy for me to
navigate,
to just sell the brand like, oh, look, I've started up my company and stuff like that. And then when I saw myself, on media teams, on PR teams, ideating for clientele, like, the government and, fintech companies that are launching really big real estate companies. It was more like, oh, you told yourself these things a couple of years ago. So if you had to go with that narrative, well, what do you want? You want to eat now and starve later? Or you want to eat now, you want to starve now and have something to eat later and later and later and later
Non-stop.
and later, non-stop. Typical example, Elon Musk and his brother built PayPal. Sold it off at $300 and something million. Imagine if it was just an algorithm, or they just programmed that project or product for them to have maybe $1 off every American citizen for one time, and then the FBI busts on them, and it's gone. The whole project crashes. Brilliant idea, bad decision, bad implementation. But this guy's made a lot of money. He took that money, extended into other projects. Now he's so big. Morally, we don't have the right to crucify people right now, because everybody tells you their own story. Oh, I grew up from a very wonderful background. Nobody was there for me. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, until the day hush puppy stops being hush puppy. Sorry if it's that's your mentor, no offense. But we all saw this guy. Most people demified him as the
god or something. Demigod.
The
perfect example for them.
The perfect example. He had reached the zenith of success. Which would you rather be? Would you rather be the Elon Musk, who has $44 billion to just throw on it? I saw a clip of the conversation he had with someone, and it was more like, Elvis, so I want to buy then Twitter. He was like, he wants to buy off Twitter, and then the guy asks him, so any plans? He's like, yeah, I'll just set up a committee, so it doesn't look like I'm the only one who wants to buy it off, and then have other people bidding for it, and then he just increases his stake to 44 billion. Spare. Convert it to your Nigerian currency.
There should be trillions.
And then you have the peace of mind. You don't have the feds over your back watching and like, okay, so where did you make this money from? You get. So choose one. Build consistently. The Nigerian artists, we all know, Burna Boy will say, he would rather prefer to take the stairs than the elevator. So you know how it feels like climbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now you talked about few things that I pointed out, of which you were, looking at the comparison between Elon and if it happens to be some other person who isn't patient about life.
Yeah.
So this brings me to another question to ask. Aren't there, policies set aside to ensure that these loopholes are being copped? Because right now, fintech happens to be one of the largest. After the inventions like the machines, the actual automobiles,
Yes,
and all
automobile
of that.
industry, yes.
Fintech, then health, the health sector.
They fall into the top 20 category.
All right, so I want to ask this question basically. Yeah, aren't there supposed to be policies that should be guiding or monitoring the activities of what is really going around these fintech companies? Because right now there's so many apps that seem to look like, the exact product of which has the higher demand.
Yeah.
And because this is what everybody is using, some persons are making a prototype of it and defrauding other persons who are gullible, who don't even have an idea of how this business is being done or what is happening.
Yeah.
Then to make money, milk people off their informations, money from them, and the law. I give an instance behind the cameras when I told you about the particular fintech companies that I'm actually, partnering
Yes.
with using.
Yes.
And now, because I already have a requisite knowledge around programming that I could actually tell if something is the actual product or not, I was able to, discern that this particular product, this particular pop-up ads I get, asking me to invest and stuff, it's not from the exact company. No, you can imagine for some Nigerians that would have fallen victims, how bad that would have been. So if we are having the actual policymakers, or if this is actually in the policy that there has to be some persons monitoring some level of transaction, monitoring some level of back ends of most of these companies, because the truth be told, as much as we know probably we are working for a company and we have some information, some persons might as well have access to that information, especially back ends of some companies, because you can't tell me that a proper prototype of a product
It's put out there.
exactly,
And
these are like things that Google would have to flag down because you already have something like that because of your intellectual properties.
yeah.
But these things are just merely looked at and smiled at and just seen as it's nothing, and millions and billions of naira keeps going off people's accounts to some other person you don't even know.
All right, so let me state this here. Firstly, there is a lot of regulatory checks put in place when it comes to established business in for the country we are in right now. I'll use Nigeria as an example. Before you register, obviously you go through the process.
Yeah.
The Corporate Affairs Commission, you have to register your business. On that end, let's not look like we are throwing
Shades.
yeah, we're throwing the companies or throwing Nigeria under the bus. So, these regulatory bodies put in the requisite steps that this company should take. But yet again, we have people cutting corners. Okay, so I'll speak on this end and then I'll speak on the other end, the end of the end users. We have people cutting corners. We have people who may be privy to have access to, the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what would require supervising or what would require monitoring just goes, like a watershed. It's nothing too strong or too serious.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that, something was reported, an app was flagged in the country, and then, like you would hear in the United Kingdom, where they would invite Mark Zuckerberg and say, sit down, what is happening here?
Yeah.
Why are we getting data mined from Facebook to other companies, to third parties?
And he'll come to defend.
He will sit and explain.
Explain exactly.
Do you understand me?
Yeah.
So I feel our system has not been built. The
That level.
structure has not been built enough, regardless of this regulatory bodies. It has not been built enough to exude the strength and the capacity that they intentionally should have.
Okay.
So whereas you would see China telling TikTok, "Yo, we don't need you guys again." It's because these authorities, like you're mentioning, are there to cross-check.
What's going on?
Why is
behind-
this happening? Why do we have more people complaining about this particular thing? Why do we have this number of complaints, or what is actually going on here? And then they sit, study the data, chart by chart, and then deduce the problem. Whereas in our system, over here in our climb, we have the authority giving the office and the responsibility, but they don't do their jobs. We would have mentioned names. Well, let's chop
All right.
rice and leave meats.
Okay. So about this particular situations, right? And would you also agree with me that this, to an extent, has made it look like, for some persons starting up tech in this country, it's now looking like it's not transparent, or it's not visible or so, because for some persons they choose to actually launch outside the country.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And
yes.
also, going by some level of policy making, you find out that most multinational tech companies are actually pulling out for some policies that is not really favorable. Now, do you think this gives an edge to startups? You're seeing that, first off, your company is not even valued up to $1,000, and multinational companies are living in the same country, in the same tech space.
Let me even tell you something, Elvis. As a matter of, this is something I know of because I'm part of the process.
Yeah.
For a company, I'm aware of. I wouldn't want to divulge. But the CEO said something. He said, as a matter of importance, if your company is not registered with a foreigner on the board of trustees, you really would have a problem. You really would have a problem getting investors. Let me break it down. So you start off a company.
Not just tech, any company.
Most tech companies.
Okay, most tech companies.
All right. So you start off a company. So Elvis app, and then you have a lot of brilliant young men from this country on that board. Before you would get any foreign VC look in your direction, you would have to have someone from the UK or from Australia or from Switzerland on the board. I personally would think it's a slap to the face of Africans. Are we not tired of being backbenchers? On the global scale, Africa represents a very tangible. We compose a very tangible representation of smart people. Most app inventors, most back-end developers, I know a lot of Nigerians who work in Australia, who work in Austria, who are major devs there. And these guys are the ones running the algorithms for your big companies to excel on. Imagine these brains brought together. And then there's a structure, and then there are policies that enable them. Example, provide electricity for them.
No.
Give them data access. Pay them. You mentioned something off air. Reduce the cost of learning for these tech skills.
Yeah, because I was really coming down to that.
Yes.
Because Dave, the truth is, if these people really, if the government, because I always say this, if the policy is favorable, the business will bloom. There'll be so many persons who want to invest into tech.
Let me tell you why the government won't favor it. Because tech exposes their loopholes. Tech exposes what they do. If you automate the judicial system in the country,
so many of them will go home.
You would know that. Let me adjust my mic because I want to say some things here. You would know that there are a lot of fraudulent activities
going behind the
on.
scene.
There was. I will give you this for free. Yeah? There was this proposal. A couple of people were putting together. I would keep them anonymous. For them to automate the judicial process for hearings in courts, where you don't need to file documents, you don't need to carry papers, and then we pitch to some government officials, and then they crash the plan. Why?
Because we're not favoring them.
So that you can easily say, "Oh, this document is missing. That guy is guilty." But if it was if it was uploaded on a safe server, and then it had the database of all the court proceedings stored,
everybody can see it.
Everybody can see it. So if there was a judicial app where you can be tried and one thing virtually and stuff like that. I told you, I come from a tech background. And you know when you try to run away from God, but God calls you back. So I studied teleconference. I studied telecommunications management in school under computer science, and then my project was on my final year project was on teleconference systems.
Okay.
So it was about implementing and designing teleconference systems. I used the medical field as my case study, where I could interface with you on a voice over internet protocol method or structure. And then I could deduce, oh, you're feeling pains here, take this, let me see, let me scan, let me do this, and I don't have to be with you there. So imagine this done, simple terms. Your Skype, your FaceTime, your video chats.
This will aid the health sector.
Imagine it done in the judicial process, where you can try and check and do whatever you want to do.
Even while the lawyers are on vacation, you could still work.
But yet again, they would not implement things like this because it would take away from some people's pockets, brown envelopes from some people's pockets. Now, in a case where we have, I'm not trying to digress. In a case where we have, I told you something funny. Let me give this funny story. So one time on air, I was talking and I said, what are the things we would like to see changed in Nigeria? And then someone called and said, hey, I feel strongly that in my environment, we need to have a new post office. This is 2024.
2024?
Yeah, I was ice cold. Post office. To do what? Send handwritten notes.
You have your mail. You have your WhatsApp.
Imagine if that person is a local government chairman. Imagine if that person is a state governor. Imagine if that person is the president. What perception would you have about tech? I told you something about the United Arab Emirates, and I showed some manuscripts to you where they have 100-year plan for the country from the time it was enshrined into the constitution. 100 years, 1 century. What they have planned for interstellar trips between Mars and Earth. What they have planned for, the marine aquatic life using tech. Saudi Arabia is building a linear city, a city built on a straight line where the greenhouse emissions will be 0. And then you have a country where they're telling you in 2018, they said they were going to have our first pencils. So these are the issues we are talking about. How do you want people to genuinely, the same country that fights cryptocurrency exchange.
So that's one level of fraud.
And yet again, we have corrupt government officials who intentionally, deliberately, without fear of any form of whatever they serve, carry out these heinous crimes against humanity. And then they go scot-free. I was seeing someone who was tried for one of his ex-governors. And then he walked into the courtroom waving to people. He was like, and I'm like, wow, this is like it's like, Burna Boy steps into the room.
All right. So having heard all you've said about the, comparison from what other countries tend to do around tech and what we're not really doing behind, and trying to see that we go ahead of what we should plan and adapt or pay more attention to tech. Don't you think this, they said charity begins at home. Don't you think this to an extent actually is the problem of the educational sector? Because whether you like it or not, the government are not paying more attention to the education. And right here, it is in a way affecting, what we are doing right here when it comes to the whole tech system, pushing people to do things. And off camera, you said something about, is it Japan or so? In their educational syllabus,
they pay more attention. Yeah, they put attention.
Concentrating on science other than art.
Yes.
So if we could borrow that leaf down the west, Korea, right? Yeah. We could really do a whole lot to, redefining what tech down here should look like. And furthermore, I'd want to say this before, we call it a wrap. For those persons, the university level, because I studied computer science, right? And I can tell you honestly that everything that I was taught cannot be implemented in our reality currently. Exactly. The languages I was taught cannot even program anything in this particular era where we have AI doing most of the jobs, right?
And I think that's where you have a problem. You have a problem with, these new systems taking away the ingenuity and the creativity from how we used to operate before this time. So you see a programmer or a dev sit down to code these languages, but right now you could just give a prompt to an AI language and then you have
just comes out.
But I think, like I said, it's marrying both worlds together. If you have a company or you have a project and then you feel tech is going to make it smarter, tech actually is going to make it smarter.
Yeah,
you can't run away from at some point we'll have even smart churches or smart whatever would have things that would just be too techy for you to leave. I mean, prior to this time you would have to go to a place, for interviews, but now you could have it virtually done cross continent.
Sure.
So yeah, just adapt.
Okay. So before we call it a wrap for today, right? So Day Forward is coming up with something very big, and of course I'd like to hear from the horses, right?
All right.
So we can get prepared and of course gear up for what is coming. Embrace tech in this 2025.
Which cam am I using? So like I said, I've been privy to go through the system of media and tech together. And I would want to teach and mentor people who want to experience what it takes to marry both worlds together. Tech, media, learning the nuances, learning how to maximize the capacity and potential you have there. So are you a young person, you want to venture into media tech, you want to learn PR, you want to learn public speaking, you want to learn media buying, the business of media buying, you want to learn project management, you want to learn real estate sales. Dave, aren't you doing too much? No, I'll tell you something for free. One door opens a pathway to many doors.
Yep.
So you learn something and then you discover that it's related to other things, and then you can maximize the strength and capacity that you have in all areas. So I've been privileged, to run real estate campaigns in 7 figures. I've been privileged to run PR campaigns in 7 figures. I've been privileged to host and compare, but you talk publicly, like my mentor Ike was talking about, in 7 figures. So what am I trying to say? Get on this bandwagon right now. It's important that January starts and you conclude December knowing that you have achieved something. So it's called Build 25. I want to mentor and build 25 people in these different areas. I will be interested if you hit me up with a DM and then we'll talk about it. So you can go visit me on my socials, David Melford Roberts on Instagram, David Melford Roberts on Instagram. The link is there in the bio, so just go there, David Melford Roberts, search, and let's pick up from there.
All right, you already heard it from the horses. You know how and where to find him. That is beautiful. Right now on the show, I will be drawing the curtain close. And don't forget to follow us up on all social media platforms at T-Pork Studios. And until I come your way on the next episode, it is a wrap.
How come I'm going to be on the next episode?
Started feeling you have a sound.
Exactly.